Boys, today we are back, and in today's video I'm going to be going over the next MVP card matchups to make. In my opinion, this card was a big success. I enjoyed watching it. I was way more hyped for it than I was for the UFC event, so yeah, I think the I think MVP should keep doing this. Not too often. I say maybe once, maybe 2 or 3 shows a year. You know what I mean? What it was in May. Make it like another one November, December, area on one of the weeks where the UFC kind of has like a week card. Obviously, don't line it up with a pay-per-view, but I think they need to make at least one more of these this year. I think they need to keep making it a real thing. Imagine Jake Paul actually gets into MMA and he has an MMA match on here. That would be cinema as fuck. So I'm going to be, matchmaking some matchups I think should happen next, based on, the matchups that happened. And some fun matchups I think, the MVP should make for their next card. First up, just rebook it. Muhammad Mokaev versus Patchy Mix. I forgot. I almost did just Muhammad Mokaev versus Adriano Moraes. Just run that one back, but I remembered Patchy Mix is genuinely a UFC fighter now. I know he fights at 135. Mokaev is a 125er, but I think Mokaev has taken fights outside of flyweight, outside of the UFC. I think one of his fights in Brave was maybe at 135, so I could see them making this fight. Patchy Mix, somewhat supposedly solid on the ground. We didn't see it, as UFC fans. I've never watched him outside the UFC, so maybe he's different, but I know he just lost recently on like Octagon or KSW or some shit like that, so Patchy Mix is on a generational downfall right now. I think him versus Muhammad Mokaev would be hype as fuck. People would just be like hyped for this matchup just because Mokaev, obviously undefeated, former UFC guy, could probably be top 5 in the division. And then people just like to clown on Patchy Mix. So I think it would be funny as fuck. Just the memes of Patchy, him going in there against Mokaev, and maybe he wins. Patchy's, supposedly really good on the ground. We as UFC fans haven't seen it. But supposedly he's really good on the ground. Mokaev, obviously known for being a wrestler, so I think this would be a fun matchup, hype for both guys, and I think MVP should capitalize on this one. Even though Patchy Mix is kind of on like a generational downfall, I think it would still be fun to have him on the next MVP card. Moving on, yes, that is Gina Carano from like 15 years ago. Just put her against Alex Pereira's sister. I mean, this is going to be the most like big name matchup that could happen. We didn't even get to see Carano fight. We have no idea what level she's at. She's probably at a low level. She wasn't even like really good back then. She was just like the first woman to do it. She was 7-1. Obviously, she lost to Cyborg, but we didn't even get to see her fight against Ronda Rousey. Like, that was a fucking non-fight. That fight was just nothing. Rousey took her down in the first 10 seconds. So I think Gina Carano should bounce back. I think she should fight again. on this MVP card. Not the main event. Maybe this could be like the featured prelim or the first on the main card. Alex Pereira's sister won on that card. Didn't see a fucking second of it. Supposedly it was by split decision, so I don't know if it was that good of a win, but big name versus big name. Obviously, Alex Pereira's sister is just going to have a big name because of Alex Pereira. Gina Carano, obviously, was in the main event, but we didn't get to see genuinely any of her skills. She tried a guillotine, she tried a leg kick, got taken down. I don't know why you're throwing leg kicks against a predominantly wrestler, but here we are, MMA in 2026. I think these two should fight. And to see where Gina's level is, I mean, let her run it back. That was basically a non-fight. She deserves to have another opportunity, and I think this would be big name for both. Run this one. Moving on, Felipe Lins versus Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa. The UFC needs to cut Tai Tuivasa. I don't think they are. I think they're genuinely going to let him go out to try to lose 8 straight. But if the UFC ends up cutting Tai Tuivasa, this is perfect. You got to put him on an MVP card. This is the second biggest MMA promotion. It would be a big get. People would tune in to watch Tai Tuivasa, hopefully get a win. And I say just match him up with Felipe Lins. Felipe Lins took the dive. No, he didn't take a dive, but he sacrificed himself, to fight against Ngannou. He was never winning that fight. Everyone knows that. But shout out to Lins. He showed up. He actually cracked Ngannou once, so big credit to Lins. I think you give him a winnable fight, a fun fight in Tai Tuivasa, who's coming over from the UFC. I mean, this is a no-brainer. If Tai Tuivasa loses again or just gets cut, you gotta, he's going to be one of the biggest names. You got to scoop him up. I'm not sure how he's going to feel about fighting MMA. I feel like he would maybe want to like box or do BKFC or some shit like that. But if he wants to keep doing MMA, this is the second biggest promotion. This promotion has already passed PFL. MVP MMA is easily already passed PFL, and they've had one fucking show. But you got to get Tai Tuivasa, make this fight. It would be funny as fuck. Lean's looking for, a bounce back win, and Tai Tuivasa looking for his first win since the Stone Age. So I think this would be fun as fuck. Bring Tai over. It would be a big name. Get, big eyes on the card, especially from that region, Australia, New Zealand, that region. So I think this is a no-brainer. Book this fight. Moving on, Jason Jackson won. Not good, look good. Won in like 30 seconds. Saladin Parnasse also won against, a can. He won in like a minute and a half. So I say run this fight. Winner goes to the UFC. I think I think the UFC is, interested in Jason Jackson. I think Jason Jackson would probably be interested in the UFC. I'm not sure if Parnas would be interested in the UFC. Supposedly they reached out to him before and he wasn't that interested and wasn't happy with the pay. So I say run this fight. Whoever wins this, the UFC scoops him up. Both dudes, made statements. Both had huge knockout wins. This could be like the feature fight on the next MVP fight. Like both of these dudes, obviously Jason Jackson has a win against Yaroslav Amosov. That's, one of the best wins in the sport right now. Saladin Parnas looked great. He was fighting a can, so let's get him a step up in competition. Jason Jackson, we know he's proven, so I think this should be a good fight, good test to see where Parnas is at, and I think this would be a banger. I think it would be primarily on the feet. I think they would, get a knockout in this fight, and I want to see it. And then winner, UFC could be on the line of this one and say, hey, we want the winner. So whoever wins this signs with the UFC and gets a big opponent first matchup. So I think this is a no-brainer. We're keeping some of the guys from the first inaugural event. We're putting them on this one. And we're mixing in some other guys. You'll see that in a second. But next matchup, Francis Ngannou versus Rubelis Despain. Again, this is a no-brainer. Both of these dudes won in impressive fashion. Both of these dudes took no damage. I say you run this fight. Now, in my opinion, Francis Ngannou would absolutely fucking murk Rubelis Despain and probably around. Rubelis is powerful, but he keeps his hands really fucking low. I think Ngannou just bombs a fucking overhand on him. But it would be just another body for Ngannou to get. Or if Rubelis wins, that would be a fucking huge upset. And he would only win by TKO, so he would spark Francis out cold. That would be huge. But I say you give Francis another layup, prove that he's still one of the best heavyweights. And this is a guaranteed knockout. You could sell this to the fans so easily. Guaranteed knockout between these two. It's a no-brainer. They both won. They both won by KO. Rubelis called out Francis. Ariel Helwani asked a question about Rubelis to Francis in the interview. He said he looked good, but he's not on my level. So run the fucking fight. Both UFC rejects. Obviously, Francis was obviously a champion, and the UFC hates him. But Rubelis just wasn't good enough for the UFC. So I say you make this fight. It's a fucking striker's dream. One of these dudes is going to sleep, and it's probably going to be Despain, and that just builds Ngannou's name even more. So run this fight. I think it would be good. Now we're going to move on to some juicy matchups here. I mean, come on. You knew this was coming. Nate Diaz versus Dustin Poirier. Fuck a fucking rematch with Mike Perry. We already saw that. We don't need to see it. I want to see Dustin Poirier going to win. And if he comes over to MVP MMA, he is starching Nate Diaz. If the Nate Diaz no, fuck that. That's always the Nate Diaz that shows up. Geriatric old man, can't do shit. I like Nate Diaz. He was fun in the build-up. I'm a fan of Nate Diaz. Sometimes when he just talks shit, it pisses me off. But I do like Nate Diaz, but Dustin Poirier would just do astronomically bad things to him. But I think you make this matchup. They have bad blood. They have beef. They were supposed to fight in the UFC. Dustin said this is the only fight he would ever come back for. I mean, you have the platform. Dustin would get paid. Dustin wouldn't get hit. It would be genuinely Dustin Poirier like a punching bag against Nate Diaz. And I think Nate Diaz would go out cold. I think this would be the first time Nate Diaz goes out cold in an MMA fight. I think Dustin Poirier literally does whatever he wants to Nate Diaz. I think he'd jump guillotines. I think he'd have fun out there. I think Dustin Poirier absolutely styles on Nate Diaz, and this is the fight you have to make. It's so there. It's the fights fans want to see. Poirier has a huge fan base. Nate Diaz obviously a huge fan base. I think this would motivate Nate to train a little bit more. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think he was that motivated to fight Mike Perry. But if you're fighting Dustin Poirier, Nate Diaz was talking shit about him retiring all week. I mean, this is just a huge fucking fight, banger fight. And I love Poirier, so I'd want to see him get a win. And if Nate Diaz pulls off a win against Dustin Poirier, it's going to be cinema. This should probably be the main event, but we got one more fight to talk about. I think this will be the main event if it does happen. This would be a great co-main. Although I think this could headline a card. Maybe this headlines the second one, and maybe they do 3 this year. Maybe this headlines the second one or the third one, and then this matchup. Oh no, sorry. I have one more to talk about. Mike Perry, he won. Put him against Colby Covington. Colby Covington recently retired from the UFC. This was a day ago. He said he's done. I think he's going to do RAF. I think he's absolutely done with the UFC, and this is a no-brainer. Like I said, if he wants to keep doing MMA, go to the second biggest promotion, MVP MMA on Netflix. Has a ton of eyeballs. He's a character. He's a huge name. He's one of the biggest names in the UFC. Not because of skill-wise, but because of trash talk-wise. But if you say Colby, most people know of Colby Covington. So, and Mike Perry just had a great performance. I was going to do the other way around, Dustin Poirier versus Mike Diaz. Dustin Poirier versus Mike Perry, and then Nate Diaz versus Colby Covington, but that didn't really make sense. Colby versus Nate would honestly be a boring fight in my opinion, and then Mike Perry versus Dustin Poirier. Poirier said he would only come back for Diaz, so that's why I made this matchup. and they have beef and bad blood. So I think, you know, one of the biggest stars in the UFC, he just said he retired. He's coming over, he's going to fight Mike Perry, who had a great performance against Nate Diaz, looked really good. I think Colby probably does him in with the wrestling, wears him down, and maybe gets a TKO on the ground or just a ride-out decision. But I think this would be an insane fight. And yeah, I'd look forward to this. Colby, one of the biggest names. I think this could be a co-main or a headliner. I literally think this could headline a card. But then we're going to get to the main event, last you know, fight I'm going to talk about. You got to do it. You have to do Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm too. It's a fucking no-brainer. I know Ronda says she's done, but come on. One more fight to right the wrong of your career. Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm. You got to do it. You have to. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. The woman who ended Ronda Rousey's career, pretty much, MMA career in the UFC. They're both older. This is a winnable fight for Ronda. She just looked amazing. You just do it. I feel like Ronda would be motivated for this. I mean, maybe not. She genuinely said she's done, but I think this would be a great fight. I think she would be motivated for it. Do I think Ronda wins? Probably, yeah. I think Holly Holm is not as good as she once was. I think it wasn't a fluke, obviously, that she beat Ronda, but it was a huge upset. I think Ronda comes in and just tries, you know, immediately to get takedowns. I think she's like, she said she fixed her like brain issues that she was having, her migraine aura, shit like that. So I think this is a motivated Rousey. And a rematch with Holly Holm would just be absolutely cinema. Book this fight, make it the main event in like December, November. Have some of these cards. Like, bro, if you make a fucking main card of this, and this, I'm sorry, that's better than the card we just got. That's easily better than the card we just got. So I think MVP MMA, if you want to do it big, if you want to get Tai Tuivasa on there, this card that I just made is way better. So, oops. Yeah, make this fight, make all these fights. These fights would be cinema. That's what I think MVP MMA should do. I want to see them keep making cards. I want to see them keep doing their thing. They fucking forced Dana White to announce Conor McGregor. Like, competition is good. We get huge announcements from the UFC to take shine away from this. So maybe they'll announce fucking, you know, another banger fucking fight, you know, in November, December, if they make another one of these cards. Like, Dana might fucking announce something else huge. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you want to see MVP MMA keep doing more events. Please subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.